Hitchhiking. The act of a stranger getting into a passing car. When unknown meets the other unknown on a dark, lonely road. Have you tried hitchhiking before? After hearing these 3 stories, you may rather walk. What about driving in the wee hours of the night, and you pass the same hitchhiker 3 times? A stubborn entity that won't let you leave because you refuse to give it a ride. Grab a blanket, turn off your lights, and let's take this journey down this long and lonesome road together. I'll drive. A ride with the devil. My auntie told me the story of what happened to her when she was younger. My auntie is now in her 60s. This occurred when she was a young adult. She used to be on her own since she was a little girl. She used to be a traveler and had no real family, just her brother, and they both had nowhere really to go. They used to sleep in trees and such. So one night, she was wandering around trying to find somewhere to go. She decided to hitchhike to a little town not too far away from a town called Lloydminster, where she had been residing before. She had been walking for a bit when a semi pulled up and pulled over for her, motioning for her to jump in. She hopped into the semi and said hi to the man. The man was really quiet and did not say too many words. He hid his face with a cap pulled over, hiding most of his face. She stared at him, wondering why he was so quiet, and she noticed his hands looked really red and most of his body was covered in a big coat. He offered her a beer, so she took it. They drove, not saying much. She was about to put her empty beer bottle back in the case and turned her head, and when she looked back at her beer, it was full again. She got a little scared and asked him to drop her off. She knew he wasn't human and something was not right. He pulled over on the side of the road and let her out. As she was hopping out of the semi, she looked at the bottom of his seat and saw a big red tail hanging out from under his coat and chair. I don't know what to make of this story. I always thought she was just drunk. But she doesn't lie, and she's older now and still sticks with her story. It's very scary. Boy Scouts. My mom, my brother, and I were driving to Vancouver Island, BC, and we went the way that takes you through Whistler and Lillooet. It was about 9:30, and we were driving through Lillooet, BC, and we stopped for gas, food, and bathroom breaks. When we were pulling out from the gas station, we saw these 2 men, dressed like Boy Scouts. They had some luggage with them, and they were hitchhikers. So we just kept driving. We drove for about an hour. No cars had passed us, and all of a sudden, there they were. The 2 Boy Scouts, standing on the side of the road in the dark at around 10:30 at night. Now let me make this clear, no cars passed us at all. Nothing. so we got a little freaked out. We drove a bit faster, and again, no one passed us. We drove through Whistler, BC, and at the edge of town, there they were again. No one passed us at all. I kept watching the whole time, and by the second time we saw them, it was around 12:30 at night. We thought we were going crazy. We were so scared. Luckily, my brother was asleep because he's a bit of a chicken and he really believes in things like this. But I would really like if anyone could tell me what this was or if they have any similar encounter. It would also be great if anyone could tell me if there have been any murders of people that fit that description in that area. The ghostly hitchhikers. This incident happened a couple of years ago. Around 15 of my old college friends of mine decided to have a small reunion at a seaside beach resort around 60 kilometers from Mumbai, India. The place is called Marood, famous for its pristine beach. A great place to chill out for a couple of days. We had booked a seaside resort for the weekend and hoped that it would be great fun. I didn't want to miss the occasion because it was a rare occasion that we could get the entire gang together. We had decided to leave from Mumbai on Friday afternoon and reach Marood by evening. But as fate would have it, something important came up and I couldn't join the others when they left in the afternoon. It was decided that I would leave later in the evening and reach the resort at night. My friend, Anand, volunteered to accompany me in the evening. It was around 8 p.m. when we were able to finish off my work and start off. The road leading to Marood is a very lonely one, especially during nighttime, and there is a very narrow stretch of road, which is an accident-prone area. We were initially apprehensive about driving along that path at night, but finally giving caution to the winds, decided to make journeys anyways. It would have normally taken us 3.5 hours to reach Marood. By driving in the night along narrow roads can be quite difficult, especially at night, and can increase the total time by up to 1 hour. We started out in Anand's SUV, rest assured that the potholes along the highway would pose no hindrance to us. It was around 11:30 p.m. when we were on the lonely stretch of road around 40 kilometers from our destination. A couple of minutes after joining a lonely road, we saw a couple asking for a lift. Normally, we wouldn't have stopped to give a lift to hitchhikers at such a late hour. But the couple looked like honeymooners who had come to spend some quiet time together after marriage. On closer inspection, they seemed to be well-spoken and safe enough to give a ride. The guy told us that they were staying at Kashid Beach, around 10 kilometers from Marood. They were staying at a resort there and had been stranded for 2 hours. They had rented a bike for the evening, but it had suffered a puncture. I could see a bike parked on the side of the road with a punctured tire, and so it made this story more believable. We asked them to hop in and told them that we could drop them off at their destination, which was on the way. Along the way, we found that both of them had a good sense of humor, and we found that we got along quite well. They introduced themselves as Ravi and Sunita, married recently and had come over to Kashad Beach Resort for a honeymoon from Mumbai. Time passed by and the conversation grew lesser since all of us were quite tired. However, our couple had made themselves comfortable in the back seat of our car and all we could hear were whispers from the back seat. Anand and I smiled silently at each other but said nothing. Then, something chilling happened, which still gives me the creeps. Somewhere near Kashid, our vehicle suddenly came to a halt. I knew that we had a full tank of gas and it wasn't the reason for this. Without looking back, I got out of the car and opened the bonnet, trying to figure out the reason for the sudden breakdown. I heard the guy Ravi call out asking whether I needed any help. I couldn't see him because of the open car bonnet. Surprisingly, there was no word coming from Anand, who was my co-passenger and would have naturally come out to the car to give me a hand. I called out to him and walked to the window. Anand was just sitting there sweating profusely. He looked at me and pointed to the back seat with trembling hands. What happened next is truly eerie. I could still hear the couple in the back seat of the car whispering to each other a couple of feet away from me, just the way when we were traveling, but there was no one there now. Continuous whispering, but only empty seats. My head started reeling and I thought I would probably lose consciousness and faint. Gathering all my strength, I opened the door. I got Anand out of the car and we ran from there like our lives depended on it. When we were a couple of meters away from the car, we heard a loud laugh in a man's voice and a wail in a woman's coming from the car. After that, there was eerie silence. Fortunately for us, there was a police station around half a kilometer from where our car broke down. We were badly shaken and on the verge of collapse. The cops on duty were very sympathetic to us, but were not surprised on hearing our story. They told us that this wasn't the first occasion that such a thing has happened. It seems that some years ago, a honeymooning couple were stranded on a lonely road at night and were brutally murdered. Their bike had developed a puncture and they tried to hitch a ride to the resort, which happened to be at Kashid. They hitched a ride from the wrong people and eventually met their grievous end. The sightings had happened a couple of times earlier too. We were told by the constables to spend the night at the police station. We immediately called up our worried friends and informed them about the incident. We also forbade them from driving down on that road as we did not want a repeat of the incident which happened to us. Anand and I spent an uncomfortable night at the police station. We couldn't believe that this has happened to us. Next morning at around 6 a.m., the cops escorted us to our car, which was now empty. A friend had also arrived there shortly. We thanked the cops for their help and started driving towards Mumbai without even bothering about the reunion plans. I was just happy that both Anand and I had escaped unscratched. While driving down towards Mumbai, I sleepily glanced from the window where we had picked up the couple. I could not see the bike which we had seen last night, but I definitely thought that I saw an old, worn-out, rusty bike tire lying on one side of the road. I might be wrong considering the state that I was in after the previous night's ordeal. I went to Kashid a year later. On the way, we stopped at the police station and inquired whether any further sightings of the couple had been reported. We were happy to learn that there were none after our incident. I can only hope and pray that the souls of the poor couple find peace.